Our next one is titled, Husband Goes Out to Run and to the Gym While I Stay Home Taking Care of the Baby. OP says, ladies, how are your partners behaving after the baby was born? My son turned 3 weeks old this week, and my partner went back to his PT classes, running, gym, massages. Well, I can't do none of that because I'm exclusively breastfeeding. I still have a little belly, and I'm not feeling like we should be leaving the baby for the first 6 weeks, at least for such vain activities. I'm going to be fair and tell you that he does a lot of work at the house, like the laundry, cooking, groceries, but will not help me at night with the baby because he says it's my job, because he can't breastfeed. He does change a few diapers at night if I ask him, but what bothers me is him saying that taking care of the baby is only my job, and that running the house is his job because I can't pay bills, so he doesn't need to help with the baby. I started to resent him because I feel like we're both his parents and I shouldn't have to take care of the baby while he goes for a massage or the gym or running. Am I being unreasonable? I appreciate all the help he gives around the house, but at the same time, I feel like it's such a sexist thing to say that it's the woman's job to take care of the baby. Now, to this one, I actually feel like OP is a little bit deluded and does not have the best understanding or any kind of overall comprehensive perception when it comes to her role as mother and his role as father. I don't know why this happens so often, but honestly, I feel like a lot of people, a lot of women especially, have a real, they get very, very touchy. They get very sensitive when specific phrases are thrown around. One of those phrases might be, it's the woman's place to do X. Another phrase, as you can see here, is, it's your job to do Y. And I think that that really just comes from this knee-jerk response of, it's not your place to tell me what my place is, right? I can decide by myself what's my job and what isn't my job. What I find, what really stands out to me here is that this husband does help out. So it's not that he's a deadbeat dad. It's not that he doesn't care about helping out around the house. It's not that he's like, yeah, okay, all the house stuff is your problem. All the kid stuff is your problem. I'm just going to work and then come home and chill and that's it. That is not the case at all. It is only the case that he asked her to look after the baby to handle the nights because he can't breastfeed. And that's, as far as I can tell, that's kind of it. The fact that he said it's her job to look after the baby is then the second part that she's annoyed at. So it's just the phrasing that he used in terms of how he asked her to look after the baby at night. Now, I say this as someone who also breastfeeds. And yes, that means that the vast majority of nighttime care is on me. That said, especially when our baby was very young, I did wake up my husband quite often and my husband helped out quite often. So it's definitely how you manage that as a situation, how you decide to handle it as a couple. And that's the thing that as a couple, you need to sit down and talk about together. And you need to say, hey, okay, I know that I need to be up to breastfeed anyway, but I need some help. I just can't handle the whole night by myself. We need to do a different split. Maybe you can handle this part of the night or that part of the night, or it's okay for me to wake you up and say, hey, go ahead. It's your turn now, or it's okay for me to sleep in the mornings and for you to handle the baby during the morning. Whatever way you decide to split it, it's fair enough to say, I'm not happy with this and I'm a bit tired and a bit worn out and I need a little bit of support. And then you can just go and say that to your husband. It's not a big deal. I don't think that it's sexist to say that it's the woman's role to look after the baby when you're breastfeeding, especially. I think that it's kind of natural and that's the natural inclination that you will have, and that if he can't feed the baby, then that kind of takes out a big chunk of how he could be looking after the baby, right? Like the moment that the baby is hungry, he's going to be with you anyway. The other thing that I find a little bit sad about this is her annoyance. She says, I don't think we should be leaving the baby for the first 6 weeks for such vain activities. So she says things like going out to run and going to the gym, having PT, physiotherapy classes are all things that are vain. And I think that's a little bit unfair. I think for the vast majority of people, doing things like going to the gym are good ways to look after your health, both physical and mental. And I find it hard to say, hey, these are all just vanity, things that you do for vanity and nothing else. That said, honestly, if she has a 6-week-old baby, it would not even occur to me to start getting resentful. Like 6 weeks old, your baby is nursing quite a lot. Sleep is always just really, really disjointed. Like for us, I think the time between 3 and 8 weeks, I'd say, is when sleep was at its worst. And like I said, the husband seems to be helping out around the house as well. So to already be tired after 6 weeks of having a baby and having a 6-week-old and say, hey, how dare he suggest it's my job, I think is really over the top. And so what I would actually say to OP from an advice perspective would be, okay, the moment you feel yourself starting to get resentful about something, then that is a very, very, very giant red flag from your brain saying, hey, there's a problem here that you need to deal with. And so if you're resentful because you want to be able to go for a run, then figure out what you need in order to be able to go for a run. Although she says she doesn't want to go for a run, but that's fair enough. If you're resentful because you can't have any period of time to sleep that's longer than an hour or 2 hours, then you can also have this conversation with your husband and say, hey, look, what I really, really, really need is just 1 night of good sleep. Just 1 night. If you could give me that, I'll be really happy. You can bring a baby to me when I nurse, and then you can take him again, and I don't care about anything else. Whatever it is you need, you can just go ahead and do it. And I would probably say to try and move away in your head from this idea of it's sexist for him to have XYZ expectation. It's sexist for him to use words like it's your job to do this. I would try to move away from that, because I think the fact that he feels like it's your role makes sense from his perspective when he can't breastfeed. And there's no reason to take more offense to something that your spouse says than you need to. That's not good either. So that's how I feel about this one. I'll read some of the comments out for you. One person says, this has been our system, but it's been working for us. I do night shifts and he gets to sleep, but he runs errands during the day and he also makes breakfast and lunch. We both take turns doing dinner. And that's a perfect example of, hey, once you figure out a method that works for you as a couple, then suddenly you're a lot happier. If it feels equal and the spread is equal, by equal, I don't mean necessarily 50-50, but in that if you need time to sleep and he needs time to sleep, that you figure out a way that both of your needs are met, then people are generally speaking a lot happier. This person also says that she does a bottle feed and that makes a big difference. And then she says, my husband is really active and social. If he doesn't get out and moving, he gets anxious. He then wants us all to go out and walk. I don't always have the energy for that, so I encourage him to do stuff on his own. That's usually when the baby is sleeping anyway. He has suggested I get out and get my nails done, but I don't want to just yet. Ironically, I'm the person in my relationship who suggests that we all go out for a walk because it's one of the things that I enjoy doing. And so it's just about every person understanding what their needs are, vocalizing those needs, and then you as a couple working together to have those needs met. This person said, not sure if your husband is like my husband, but going to the gym and exercising is important for his mental health. I personally wouldn't be resentful of him doing the things he needs to do to stay healthy, as long as he's also helping me when he's home. I exclusively breastfeed as well, so he can't help too much with the feedings, but he does housework and works and helps take care of the other kids for me. For night feeds, I see no point in him being up to help me because there's nothing for him to do. But when I return, he will watch the baby in the afternoon so I can nap with my toddler uninterrupted, etc., etc. You can see there is a million different ways that people separate tasks around the house and when it comes to childcare so that they both feel a lot better about it. This one I really appreciated. She said, this is our second baby, so I didn't expect to be doing things for myself right away. I had a repeat C-section and I'm breastfeeding, so I knew I'd basically be glued to the couch with a newborn. My husband works and we're not doing any formula, so I wouldn't ask him to get up in the night just to change a diaper or something when I'd end up needing to get up to nurse the baby back to sleep anyway. He's very helpful around the house with our toddler, and I feel very fortunate. I completely support his working out and taking care of himself. It keeps him stable and happy. I'm not exactly at my best right now while I recover, so I definitely don't have any desire for both of us to be mentally compromised. I guess I don't understand why you would resent taking care of your baby while he works out. If he weren't helping out with the other things, that would be a big issue, but it sounds like he is doing what he can. It might be a little bit sexist for him to say that taking care of the baby is your job. Both of you are responsible, but if he has a job outside the home and you are a mom staying at home, then it sounds like those are the roles you've both agreed to. If you don't want to stay home and take care of your baby, you could work and baby could go to daycare. It's true though that when you're breastfeeding a newborn, baby needs you far more than they need their father. And so that's just a bit of a reality check. I don't know why or how women get into this habit, or just a totally different perception, totally different understanding of what having a baby is like. And just accepting that this is a reality. This is going to be your reality for a few weeks, for a few months, for however long you choose for it to be your reality, and just being okay with that and understanding that maybe the father will be able to do things that you're not able to do, but that's okay. And at a different point in time, you can figure things out. And when you want to do things, still figuring out ways for you to do that, then it's really not a big deal. Then there's no need for this frustration. There's no need for the resentment. I suspect that a big part of the resentment comes from not quite having expected such a big change or a big shift in your life and in your lifestyle, and not being prepared for that mentally, not being able to accept that that's what things are like. But it's that urge to try and fight against that then causes a conflict in your relationship, which is unnecessary and avoidable if you both just sit down and talk it out.